Greetings. Can I have your ticket? Oh, you don't have one? No problem. Just click the subscribe button below and then come on in. Hello, everyone. DFG here, Gideon's Flight. Hey, real quick, I just want to talk to you guys about something that's, I think is relatively important, something that we all are confronted with at some point in time in our lives. And that is, when does that time come for us to recognize that maybe we were wrong about a particular matter, or maybe based off of information we made, a poor decision, and in some cases just bad behavior. But whatever that might be, what I want to talk about today is just the necessity to understand the importance of when it's time to adjust one's thoughts or one's ideas based off of, information and in some cases misinformation. Give you two examples. The first is Jazmine Barnes. As you guys know, a couple of videos back, based off the information that all of us received at that particular time, including, and it was information from the news media, from eyewitnesses, we were led to believe that the killing of the 7-year-old was, a white male. And, of course, based off of that information, it angered us. It was hurtful. And the only thing it could bring to mind, was a feeling of, retaliation, a feeling of revenge. And unfortunately, in this case, false accusations. And so, in retrospect, based off the most recent information, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here again, but based off the information that we have, that it appears that it was two young black men who were actually in a drug deal gone wrong with Jazmine's mother, who leveraged the situation, probably to cover herself, and said, instead of black guy did it, white guys did it. Now, we've heard this story in reverse many times. White saying black guy did it. Whichever one, they both are equally evil. They're both equally wrong. And I'm of the opinion that, for those of us who like me, who took that information and ran with it, it was a mistake. It was my feedback around that situation was sincere, but it was sincerely wrong. And publicly, as I stated it, publicly, I apologize for it. Okay. Next thing I want to say. Oh, and by the way, I think that if what is being said holds up, Jazmine's mother needs to be held 100% accountable for what happened to her daughter. At minimum, negligent homicide. Okay, moving on. Next thing I want to talk about is that in relationship to why is it necessary that if someone does not follow a popular opinion, that somehow or another that person gets vilified? Why do I have to agree with something just because the masses say I have to agree with it, and if I don't agree with it, I'm criticized and belittled? And this is what's going on with a lot of people right now with the situation with Donald Trump and border security. And I'm not going to linger on this, but I want to be clear about this. You have, the left, and I'm going to just use the left, primarily those who support the Democratic Party, have villainized this man about border security. And when you bring up that Obama talked about border security and its importance, Clinton talked about border security and its importance, and they were very critical about it. They weren't like, oh, we need to protect the borders. No, they were very, very commanding and demanding and insistent and agitated and frustrated that people were not respecting the sovereignty of the United States of America. Chuck Schumer also was a big advocate of we need to do something to secure the border. But now, because it's politically expedient, they all have gone in a different direction, and now they're making, our border security as a political football. Now, here's what I'm going to say about that. It doesn't matter if I'm a Republican or a Democrat. If someone is talking about something that's logical, if they're talking about something that makes sense, if they're talking about something that's needed, why would I take a political stand against that? And this I'll say, there are some of you who are listening to me, and I believe this. If Donald Trump happened to be at a hotel that you were staying in, and your 2-year-old, if you had one, fell into the pool and was drowning, and Donald Trump jumped in that pool, saved that 2-year-old, you still wouldn't have anything positive to say about this man. Because that's how you sound to us, those who are simply saying, look, there are things that Donald Trump has done that are ridiculous. That are ridiculous. And probably some things he's done too. But surely some things he said that are flat out offensive and ridiculous. And it absolutely can be interpreted as anti-feminist or anti-female and also anti-people of color. And the anti-people of color aspect of it is when he said African nations were shitholes. That could be offensive. I'm not an African, but I can understand why a person who considers themselves an African American can be offended by that and draw that conclusion that, that was a racist statement. I don't think that's all I'll say about that, because I don't know the mind of Donald Trump. Donald Trump might be a racist for all I know. But this has nothing to do with his bigotry. Border security has something to do with our safety, all of our safety. And it should not come down to where we all are expected to act like sheeple, that we just follow along because everybody else follows along with it. The blind leading the blind. Afraid that if one of us, who are not a Republican, because I'm not, decides that, wait a minute, and this particular thing I agree with him, that somehow or another, not only are we ostracized, but we're insulted and we're disrespected. We're told that we're a bunch of fools and we're a bunch of idiots and dummies and assholes. And the name goes on and on and on. The name calling, I'm sorry. And a lot of these people are people who say they believe in the Creator, who are doing these name callings. It's interesting. They say they believe, there are a lot of these people who are saying they believe in the Creator, and they're quick to tell you, love your neighbor as yourself. They're quick to tell you, turn the other cheek. They're quick to tell you, you have to be able to forgive people. But when it comes down to Donald Trump, somehow or another, their religion goes out the back door, or they left their religion at home. Well, I'm going to tell you something about true religion. You can't leave it at home. True religion goes with you wherever you go. So, my frustration, in this instance, I'm talking about securing us, making sure America is safe, understanding that everything is not politics. This country cannot afford to allow people from other nations, especially the poor nations, to come here without means and resources to support and take care of themselves. We don't have the resources to do it. We just don't have it. And there's nothing wrong with someone standing up and saying that, as Donald Trump did in the first 42 seconds of his State of the Union address the other night. It took him all of 42 seconds to say, if we don't secure these borders, blacks and Hispanics are going to take the hit the worst. Now, if I'm a so-called black person or a Hispanic person, I'm going to take offense because he said, that not controlling the borders and allowing, migrants to come in who can't take care of themselves, who are going to depend upon America giving them jobs and health care and education and housing, that we don't have the means to do that, and whatever limited resources we have, if we share that with them, we're not going to be able to take care of you, blacks and Hispanics, those who are in need of assistance. How is that wrong? That makes no sense to me. And again, I'm going to turn this back to, because supposedly 70% of Americans they believe in God, Yahweh, the Creator. Well, what would he do? What would he say in terms of, what is politically expedient or what is truth? Because I know some of you say, well, he'd say love everybody and let everybody come in. That's not what he said. Go read your Bible. Yeshua, your Jesus called people dogs. Yeshua, your Jesus called people pigs. Yeshua, your Jesus called people snakes. Yeshua, your Jesus whipped people with a bullwhip. He was chaotic, turned over tables, cussing, fighting. Oh, yeah. And did he talk negative to women? He most surely did. His own mother came to him and said, woman, this is not your business. When she came to him about, they were running out of the wine at the reception, he told her, woman, this is not your business. Go read it for yourself. You follow me? But we forget that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying all this to say to you that if you're saying that you stand for what's just, if you say that you stand for what's right, then you cannot allow yourself to be polarized into saying that I don't care what somebody does, I am not going to recognize they're good if I don't like them. And in the case of Donald Trump, hate him. Hate him for what? I can understand you don't like him. If you're talking about grabbing women's vaginas, I get it. Calling nations shithole countries, okay, I understand why you don't like him. I can see that. But hate him? You know that the scriptures say that hating is the same thing as murder? You know that? Calling somebody a fool, like a lot of you guys say about this guy, it's the same thing as murder. So here's how I'm going to leave this message to you today. I'm going to take it from here. Book of Ecclesiastes. It says, to everything there is a season. There's a time for every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, a time to die. A time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, and a time not to kill. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get, a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to rend or tear and a time to sow and bring together. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love, a time to hate, a time to war, and most importantly, a time for peace. So those of you who have taken this hard, solid, this hard stance against the President of the United States, and again, I'm no proponent of Donald Trump. I'm a proponent of individualism, consciousness. If anything, I'm a proponent of myself. You should be too. Nobody should be telling you what to think. That's why you have a mind of your own, a body of your own, a conscience of your own. Adults make adult decisions. What that simply means, they weigh the facts. You've heard me say this before. They think about the consequences before they make the decision to act. Now, if someone is saying something that's good for this nation, we should respect that. As long as they're explaining to the important people why he's done that. And if you refuse to hear that, then that's not him being bad. That's just you being rebellious, for lack of a better word. Thank you for listening. Talk to you soon. DFG. Bye now.